Hey everyone, welcome back to the Brand Exchange podcast. My name is Yohji. I'm super thrilled to have my guest this week, and it's Sunny Bonnell, and she's the CEO and founder of Motto, a New York-based strategic branding agency. She is also the author of a book called Rare Breeds. She's also a keynote speaker, host, columnist for Fast Company, and many, many more things, and a certified visionary leader coach. We're going to get back to that. Sounds very amazing. And again, I'm super thrilled to have, again, a visionary female leader on the show. Sunny, welcome.
Hey, what a great intro. Thank you so much. I sound like I've been busy.
You've been busy. According to your LinkedIn activities, you are one of the most busiest people on this planet.
Well, that's good that that's what you see.
I do. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to us. Sunny, the question that everyone gets right through the gate in this podcast talking about branding and many more things is that what is branding to you? What does the term branding mean? What is branding?
So the way that I define brand is the way people perceive you, both inside and outside the organization. So it's the totality of the meaning that people attach to the organization, both from employee side and people who are stakeholders within the company, but also people who are outside the company who come into contact with the brand every day. So for me, it's just a collective experience of every touch point that you have internally and externally coming together to influence the way that people think about you and feel about you.
Awesome. And then brand strategy, that term basically is the plan to hold that mess all together in one aligned direction.
Yeah, where are you going? Yeah. What hill are you marching towards? What flag are you carrying? And more importantly, how did we get there? So it's really why, how and who. A lot of people think that the why and the how are important, but I also believe the who is incredibly important simply because who is going to help you lift that vision, achieve that mission, and ultimately serve the purpose. So I'm always looking at it very holistically and thinking about who are the people that we want to bring into the organization to help us lift that message higher.
Yeah, I love it that we're 2 minutes in and you already sneaked in the flag word in here to just give our session a little bit of the motto field. I love it.
Exactly.
Okay, let's take it up a notch to a little bit more of a difficult question. So one thing that I'm able to explain it to, the people that we teach and our clients, but it's definitely one of the harder ones to say, if you want to build a purposeful, strong, famous, beloved brand, then you need to be consistent in at least the majority of the elements that you use, verbal, visual, it doesn't matter. And on the other end, and I know you also talk a lot about innovation, like don't stagnate, like getting to the next level, otherwise you disappear, is that this contrast between consistency and innovation, which because the words kind of contradict each other itself, like what are the things that you say to the people that you teach and the people that you work with of like the approach to finding that balancing act?
Between innovation and consistency?
Correct.
Well, I think the thing that has to be inconsistent is unconventionalism. So the thing that you're looking for is that healthy tension between being consistent in who you are, but not necessarily being consistent on how you deliver that message. So what we're looking for within organizations is not consensus. What we're looking for is commitment to the greater cause, commitment to whatever innovation that we're trying to see through. And so a lot of the times teams are always looking for consensus, but what you're really looking for is commitment. So we use a playbook exercise out of Jeff Bezos, which is disagree and commit. So even if you disagree with the larger context of what we're trying to do, we still ask for you to commit to the greater cause. So you can voice that you don't agree with where we're going, but it's important that you still have the commitment that you will support the endeavor. And that's what we look for, particularly around innovation.
Wow, that was amazing. Definitely going to keep that in mind next time in our next workshop. And continuing a little bit about brands, what's hyping right now in your mind? Do you have a brand right now that's totally like winning over your hearts? Like any brand comes to mind?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a brand that we're working on right now that I think is pretty cool, which is a brand called Good Notes. So they just were awarded the #1 iPad app of the year by Apple. They have about 15, 16 million users, I think, and we're going through a major rebrand of their organization. And it's incredibly exciting because I love their vision of taking the iPad, taking the idea of being the #1 note-taking app in the world, to making that platform for them expand beyond the audience that they have, which has traditionally been college students, people taking notes, people on our team use the app and things like that. So it's a very, very widely known app, and many, many people use it to create and ideate and just capture things. And so the fact that they're kind of trying to break the mold and push beyond what they're known for is always really exciting, because those brand transformations, you're allowed to really see the company kind of go from where they are to another moon. And that's really exciting to be on that rocket with them. And I think that's where we typically at Motto play really well, is kind of what we call the ascender, which is the ascender is usually about 90 million in revenue or beyond. And they're just taking off in terms of their ascendance to a greater good, a greater cause, a greater business. And we love to be on that rocket ship with them and help them, push to that next moon. So we love to be a part of that.
I can imagine. Okay, we're going to leave a link in the description here and for people to check it out and follow. And yeah, excited to see where the rocket will take you guys. We'll also definitely check it out after.
Yeah, something's coming in the fall, so it'll be exciting.
Awesome. All right. I want to stir the conversation a little bit to a word that you seem to love a lot, and that is culture. You talk a lot about it. Maybe can you give us a small intro about what you understand under the term culture?
Well, culture is ultimately the spirit of the company and the behaviors in which you hold yourself accountable to those behaviors and the spirit of the company. It's the protection of that spirit of the company, and ultimately who you say you are should be who you are in reality, right? Not just words on a wall, or in a pitch deck, but really, who are you in the world? How do you behave? What are your people like? What type of culture are you trying to make people understand about you? So our work at Motto particularly is around aligning 3 particular things, which is vision, culture, and brand. And at the heart of that is leadership. So leadership is who is steering the company, what kind of impact are they trying to have on the world, and more importantly, who have they galvanized around that to help them serve that message more loudly? So for Motto particularly, it's really about helping companies understand that brand begins at the leadership level and it doesn't end at brand. It goes beyond brand, in fact. So, it's operationalizing the brand. It's getting people to love the brand. It's about making an impact in the world. It's about creating things that are not selfishly motivated, but are actually good for the environment. There's all sorts of things that are attached to that. And the way that we look at it is the symbiotic relationship between those 3 things in particular, vision, culture, and brand, for us sits at the heart of everything that we do.
No, for sure. Yeah. Is there, I think if you ask, I don't want to say majority, I'm not sure about that, but if you ask C-suite people, managers, business leaders, or bosses, let's call them bosses for now. I think they call it more like team spirit. That's easily upliftable with a free pizza party and an outdoor activity. Where do you see the real power of building the culture kicking in? Or what do you say to the people that just have a stupid answer, like the one that I just did for an example?
Teamwork. If you want to win a championship, you have to have a championship team. So for us at Motto, particularly, what we're always trying to help our clients understand is that who you're surrounding yourself with, and more importantly, who you attract and who you say you're trying to attract in terms of how do you reduce attrition, how do you play in the talent game and keep really talented people, is not through pizza parties. It's one avenue, but there's so much more. It's who you are when no one's looking. It's who you are when you're one-to-one with the people in the room that are working for you as a leader. What are their impressions of you? What is your management style? What is your leadership style? It is so much more about perks and benefits, but perhaps more largely about the energy and the feeling that you're giving to people. Are they in a psychologically safe environment? Are they in a culture where everything has to be done yesterday? Do they feel like they can fail and they won't get fired? There's so many reasons that culture come into play that have nothing to do with perks and benefits. It's actually in the moments that are actually part of the daily habits of a company, that are all the things that sometimes aren't pretty, having a client pull out at the last minute or not pay you. Is your first instinct to let everybody go? Or is your instinct to go, hold on a minute, let me see how I can solve this, right? How do we solve this together? Right. A lot of leaders hold the playbook really close to their chest. They're scared to be vulnerable. They're scared to open up to their team and say, I need your help in order to get us, sales up this next quarter, because we want to be able to support the team longer. Or we have a client who pulled out, we have a bill owed or something like that, and you're being transparent. You're not candy coating them with problems, but you're coming at it from an optimistic standpoint, but you're also asking for the help so that everybody feels bought into what it is that they're trying to solve. So I find that in the healthiest cultures that I've been in, that's kind of a common theme, that there's a great deal of leadership, support, psychological safety, and ultimate the belief that we're really truly there to help one another. And when you find that, it's actually really rare. I don't see it a lot. As a matter of fact, I'm in cultures every day that I don't see that behavior. If anything, there's quite a removal from the leadership suite to the people that are on the team. And there's a big gap between what they're experiencing at the leadership level and what the people within the company are experiencing. So, what we're trying to do is just close that gap a little bit more and give people the tools to understand how to think more like a leadership mindset, and ultimately impart that to the team that they have, so that they can also, in those moments, step forward and be a champion, be a leader in those types of scenarios. So that's what you're always looking for.
Oh, amazing. So you guys do you have specific workshops for, I don't know, what do you call it? Culture treatment, culture training, culture development?
Yeah. So that's something that's really unique to Motto particularly, is that we do the sort of core brand motion sets, where we're doing immersion and strategy and verbal and visual. But we also impart oftentimes another aspect to that, which we call kind of operationalizing the brand, which is how do we bring this into the culture so that more people buy into it and support it, because people support what they help build. And if you go away and you squirrel away and you do branding exercises in an ivory tower where no one is really a part of it, and then you're handing your creative department the brand, well, what heart will they have in it? Not very much. So our goal is always to create those culture champions, rituals and behaviors, and try to do that for most of our clients. Not every client wants to go through that process, but we do have clients that do, and we'll stay on and sort of steady the ship and help them drive the brand through in a more impactful way. And that's probably the most passionate work that we have, because we can see not only the results of the brand impact, but you can sense the brand impact at the internal level as well. And that's really exciting, because then you really truly get full-blown alignment. And that's what you always want in branding anyway, is that internal and external alignment at every step of the way. When you have gaps in that bridge, it makes it harder to tell that, back to your earlier point about consistency. It's harder to tell that more consistent narrative because you have gaps in your story. You've left out parts of your chapters, right? With in culture being very, very much a central hook of the book.
For sure. I love it. Okay. I mean, it's sadly even rarer is that an English word, rarer, more rare in Asia. We had the situations where we work with great startups and even a couple of large corporation conglomerates that really had these passionate, managing directors or CEOs on the top. You just knew after 5 minutes talking to them that they just believed in the whole thing. There was no bullshitting, right? It was all straight up, not to be cheesy, but straight from the heart about I don't care if it's real estate. I don't care if it's app development. And I think that just makes such a huge difference, which brings me kind of to my next topic of that face of the brand. And I must be honest, that's something that I just have started developing into our process a year ago, because it wasn't super clear to me. And it really kicked me one morning when I read a study from one of those elite universities in the US, that they went around and basically asked a bunch of people and just mentioning famous company names like Tesla or Apple, and asked them what the first association to it was. And it was I don't want to say any wrong numbers, 70+%, that it was always that face of the brand that came up. So Musk, Jobs, you know the game. And since then we also started like evolving and like building up our processes, to give that part of the discovery process a little bit more attention, to say, okay, guys, if it's not the CEO, if it's not the founder, right? Like, who's really passionate, who like goes home even when they're tired, just still gives his brother or his cousin or her cousin, a little talk about the new exciting thing that happened at work, because, we built this together, as you said. So
yeah.
like,
I just wrote a post about this, actually. I don't know if you saw that on LinkedIn, but I said the CEO is the new logo.
Oh, no, that one I didn't see, but yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll send you. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about, was the CEO being the new logo. So it was based off some insight from that particular study.
Okay, great. Yeah, I mean, like, for example, right, I think if you would ask 1,000 people of how Joe Rogan's logo would look like, I think maybe one or two will have a right answer for you. Everyone else is just, the bald guy with the headphones done.
Yeah. Well, that's what I talked about in the post, right? Is that if culture is the heart of the home, the CEO is the new logo. So your interactions, I don't care if you're Elon Musk or not, you are important to someone in your company. Whoever you are in that leadership position, you're important, you're influential to someone. So when they think of your business, they think of you, right? Motto, when people think of motto, they think of me or Ashley most of the time, particularly our team.
Or the flag.
They understand the brand. Yeah, they understand the brand. But their interactions are primarily with us. So they're always going to associate parts of the brand with our impression on them. So in any company, if you don't have a great experience with the CEO, guess what? You're going to leave that company, and you're going to go out and you're not going to talk about the brand. You're going to talk about the business. You're going to talk about the CEO. You're going to talk about the leadership. You're going to talk about the company. And we have more influence and impact than ever before. We are under more scrutiny than ever before. Every behavior that we make, every mistake that we make, every good thing that we do, people know about. And it's more transparent than ever before. And I think the thing that you look for is not apologies for your behavior, but rather, I do think that it goes both ways. In other words, if you're a part of a company, you also have to understand that your leadership is also being scrutinized in a way that they've never been scrutinized before. You could call that accountability, but at the same time, you also sometimes forget that leaders are human and they are going to make mistakes. They're going to make a lot of mistakes. They're going to do things that aren't right. And I think on the flip side of that, employees aren't going to do things that are right. So you just have this balance where you're always trying to navigate, as Gary Ridge likes to say, between tough and tender. You're always on a scale of tough to tender. And where are you in that scale as a leader? Am I being too sensitive, or am I being too harsh? Am I being too tough? And it's a lesson that we're all learning every day. And there's no rule book for this. There's no handbook for this. So you got a lot of people out there making a lot of mistakes. And some of them are mistakes that shouldn't be made, no matter how, coming onto a Zoom call and basically laying off, 90,000 people or something like that. There's other things, right, that I think that there's playbooks where you kind of go, common sense would tell you that that's a very insensitive thing to do. But it is the playbook that a lot of leaders they don't know. And so they just do these things, and then they don't know how to necessarily do things that might have mitigated that, or the impact of that, or been more empathetic towards things like that. So, leadership is an ever evolving journey that you are on to constantly improve. And what you don't want to be doing is making the same mistakes again and again and again. So as I said, if culture is the heart of the home, the CEO is the new logo, is the new brand. And I really, truly believe that. I think that's why, to your point about the study, about why when people think of Tesla, they think of Elon Musk, or when they think of Amazon, they think of Jeff Bezos. You won't get that across the board, but you'll get that statistically quite a bit, because those brands are so powerful that their leadership is impacting how people see the organization, good or bad. And so, or surprising. And I think that goes even for small companies. I don't think you have to be a huge famous CEO. As I said, you're important to someone. So you have to be careful with that power and that influence. Your voice will always be louder in the room.
100% agree. Chris, right? From Chris Do from the future, right? For sure.
Yeah, sure. He's great.
So I don't know if he said it in person or it was a post. I don't remember. But he basically noticed on the Google searches that one of the highest ranking Google searches that didn't include the word the future or future was like Asian guy with glasses design, like just those 4 words. And he just made
That's
sure
hilarious.
he just like alt tag like all the videos to make sure that even if you look up that still Chris comes up. I mean, Chris is super
I love
genius,
it.
but yeah. Just
Asian guy with glasses. Love it. That sounds about right. Yeah. That sounds funny.
Good description. The other question connected to that one I wanted to ask you, because like I love design. I started as a self-taught logo designer 10 years ago, and every now and then I still love doing it. But like I definitely getting the vibe of the importance level dropping of logos impact in general. And obviously you can't put a face of the company CEO or whoever the leader is into the social media icon. It's, not the ideal one. So icons and logos will always play a role, but do you get the same vibe that it's kind of like shifting towards that?
Oh, yeah. I've been calling that shot for a long time, much to the dismay of my team, my creative team, who's like, shut up about that. But yeah, no, I've absolutely seen that trend. I think that creative, in particular within companies, are becoming devalued simply because you can plug in a logo maker or Fiverr or any of these brands, quote unquote brands that are doing quote unquote branding work. And they'll spit you out, 100 solutions. And if you're a young, scrappy entrepreneur who doesn't understand the value of brand and the ROI of brand, or the importance of how all of these things collectively come together and sync around the world, you're tempted because you're like, why would I pay this agency $150,000, $300,000, $500,000 if I can go and get, 900 solutions in the matter of 48 hours? I mean, it's tempting. And then you have lots of people who still buy into the whole startup culture where you can do things really lean and fast and mean and rush to market and prototype and just get out there and try to prove it. Meanwhile, all those tiny little impressions or the brand in the audience's mind. So they're helping or hurting the brand at any given point. So there's an education component to it, but there's also the sense that the logo and its importance is not only diminishing, but that the importance of creativity is also being capsized as part of it. I think we'll find other channels because you cannot replace the brains in the room, at least not now. But I mean, you can to some degree, I guess, with ChatGPT and things like that, where you can write an entire blog post within, seconds. But I think strategically thinking, there's a lot of assimilation of facts that you need to be able to connect the dots that I don't think AI has been able to accomplish yet, or even some of these tools have been able to accomplish yet. So sometimes there has to be someone to make some connections between those things. I don't know that logo works as hard as it used to. And I think what we're learning is that we're all going to have to shift the way that we behave, think, act, and communicate in order to not only compete in this new landscape, but perhaps with all the tools that we're racing against that are actually doing the job for us. And I don't necessarily think it will be something that eradicates the role. I think it enhances the role for a short time, but eventually, who knows, it could absolutely eradicate the role in its entirety. But you'll still need thinkers, I think, to kind of assimilate some things. There'll be parts of the business that I don't know that an AI tool would be able to scour. It's like the same feeling, the emotional intensity between two people, but there's weirder things that have happened. So
No,
but back to your point, I do think that logo in our industry in particular, it's the one point in our relationships with other teams where something clicks in their head that I've noticed in the last year, particularly where you've kind of gone through immersion, strategy, and verbal, and all of that's like very high value. There's a price put on it that feels very significant. And then you kind of get to the creative piece, and there's almost this like level of, I could get that done anywhere, and you feel it. They're not saying it, although we have had a few people say it. It's true. Not too long ago, I had somebody who said, I showed it to my 4-year-old niece and they didn't get it. And I went, oh, that's where we're at now. So I'm like, yeah. I guess cousin Bobby is able to brand you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it's funny, but it's actually happening, and it's happening to a lot of teams. And you're almost shocked that you're in the room with a bunch of C-level executives who would pull that card out and go, my niece could draw this, or something. And so I think you have that stigma that's starting to be attached to this of, I could just plug things in and I can get all these concepts. And I think it's devaluing the people that have spent their lives working and understanding the nuances and technicalities of something, of a business, of a brand, of how all these things connect together. You're kind of devaluing those people right in the room just by saying that one thing. So the fact that it's happening more and more often across the board, I'm hearing this from all sorts of colleagues and people I know in the industry. This isn't just a motto thing. This is everybody's experiencing this. I think that we're going to continue to see that. And so where we have to, in some cases, maybe some agencies are even going to have to chip off that creative aspect altogether and maybe not do that, because then you're just in that game where they're like, you're making the burger well done. And I want to be very careful never to slip into that game, because once we're in that game, it's over. There's no coming back from that. When you're at the level where they're comparing you to a Fiverr, I could get it done at Fiverr, well, then you're out. And so many teams that I'm talking to are like incredibly talented, like some of the best, way better than, more well-known than Motto are experiencing that. So the fact that that's happening tells me that not only either the industry needs to do a better job educating, or we need to accept the reality of this is the temperament. What are we going to do to move beyond it and past it so that we don't have to deal with that? Where can we be the most valuable person in the room?
Sunny, opening the rabbit hole right here. Okay, yeah, we're going to go to a whole AI discussion. I mean,
I know, right? It's deep. It's deep. We could talk about that for another hour or two. Yeah. No, I think a lot of people are really freaked out by AI and ChatGPT and things like that.
Yeah, just to keep the conversation simple, right? I think let's just focus on logos only. I'm a big AI fan. Played around with all of the things in the past few weeks and kind of trying to implement certain things as well. But I think where, again, on the logo discussion itself, that versatility that you and me probably present to our clients in many different ways that says, okay, this is your logo. It's great. It's simple. It's your mark. You can use it on social media and all the other small recognizable platforms that you want to use. But then on the other hand, it is just so intertwined into all the other elements that, here we can use it as a placeholder. Here, I mean, think of Amazon, right? The smile comes on the box and it comes on the logo and it comes on the shirt of the people. I think that part we still have to have a very long time until AI becomes that smart and can connect these kind of dots that actually don't have anything to do with each other, but play in individually such an important role as you said, communicating constantly this certain message that, whatever it is. And I think that's the part where I say, as a tool, yes, let's adopt it. Let's accept it. I'm on the accepting team right now. I'll admit it. And everything else, I think we're just going to become strategic connectors. I think some jobs, some creatives will go away. I believe it. I'm sorry, but we all have to adapt. And I don't know, that's my standpoint. I just wanted to let that out before I fall off my chair here. Yeah.
I love it. No, I think you're right. I think that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. I think we'll be dot connectors, at least in the near future. I think we'll be dot connectors. Yeah. There's value. Okay, there's value in reading what's not there, right? There's value in reading what's not being said. There's value in being able to read between the energy and temperaments in the room. So absolutely. I think that skill set in particular is incredibly valuable. And by the way, not many people are great at it. Mm-hmm. My co-founder is brilliant at being a dot connector. I mean, she's incredible. Ashley's incredible when it comes to being a dot connector. She's a strategist, but she's a dot connector. Mm-hmm. So where everybody else kind of just takes what's being said in the room and spits it back to the person, she looks between everything that's not being said and basically brings it all together and brings it into focus for everyone. And that is such a unique skill set, which I think will be very valuable into the future. Yeah,
I think that's what we need to. My dear co-founder Jason, who has the same skill. Yeah, we all have that kind of person.
Incredible. We need to meet Jason. Bring him on over. Let's talk. No, I think it's so important. The dot connectors need to stay together because they're a rare bunch. But no, I think that you're 100% right. And I'm optimistic about the future. I believe that while we do have to adapt and evolve, I truly believe that we're an adaptable species and a brilliant species. And I think that we can absolutely find ways to use those new tools in ways that actually enhance what we're already doing. I'm not nervous about it. I'm only optimistic about where it ultimately goes. Because if you stay, it's like Disney, right? Bob Iger talks about this a lot, about being the CEO of Disney, who he was just brought back, as a matter of fact, to shepherd them through this next chapter. But one of the things that he said that I thought was really brilliant was, he said, Disney, we could look back at the history of Disney and keep it in a glass case and revere it, or we can respect it, but we can adopt the new future. We can move to streaming platforms. We can own our content. We can create more creative content. And that can be the heartbeat of the company. Because for a long time, Disney was revering the past. They were looking at the past as those were our glory days, when in fact, you have to look forward and go, no, the horizon is just ahead, and we have to keep sailing the boat, So I'm just a firm believer in that. But I think logo wise, it's just one spoke in a much, much larger wheel. There's so much room for creatives to play and be involved in companies and where they go. I don't think it necessarily has to only be tied to the craftsmanship of a logo. I think there's so much more that you can do.
For sure. Yeah, I think just one comment on the vision. If you would tell a guy who was like in a coma for 25 years that Star Wars is now owned by Disney, I think he will tell you like you completely lost your mind. But, that's where your vision can take you if it's crazy enough.
That's right. Audacious enough, as we like to say in Rare Breed. Absolutely. Yeah. We're a huge vision believer and, caster. And we actually just launched something called Vision Camp, where we take leaders and entrepreneurs through a 2-day exercise where they learn how to not only clarify and cast their vision, but how to operationalize that vision through the company and actually make it tactile. So that's pretty exciting. So on the vision side of things.
You stole my closing clip, but I wanted to also give you the chance to maybe give people a small intro, maybe tell people how we can join. Is it virtual? Is it live in person?
It's virtual for now.
About Vision Camp. Okay.
Yeah. So it's virtual for now. And if you go to wearemotto.com/Vision Camp, you can learn more about it. We're actually doing our first event February 21st and 22nd, and we have a limited amount of seats. We're doing a pilot, and we're got about 12 limited seats right now. We've already sold the majority of those tickets, but have a few seats left. So it's great to get people to come in, do it with us. We're going to be taking them through really important exercises that are really geared towards not just talking about what a vision is, but more importantly, how do you cast it? How do you action it? How do you get people to buy into it? And more importantly, how do you achieve it? What needs to happen in order to be able to do that? So day one is really foundational, and day two is about being actionable. And that's how we're building it. Yeah. So it's kind of vision casting, and then it's vision making. So it's really 2 days focused on that. And we're excited to get people a part of it.
Awesome. So probably to any kind of decision maker that has small to medium to large teams under him or her, and in any sort or kind of company, startup to
entrepreneurs too. Yeah, we have entrepreneurs who are coming. Yeah, particularly we have some people who don't have teams, but are actually just trying to figure out where they're going in their career or their business or whatever their blueprint is. It's actually very good for people who you don't necessarily have to have a team. You can just work on yourself, which is what a lot of visioning is about, is trying to cast a vision and figure out what you want to do in your professional career or the path that you're trying to take. So that's generally what we're seeing the signups be a little bit all over the board, which is kind of exciting. Entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, but also teams. So that's really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely also read a little bit more into it. I just read the kind of main page and I got excited. So I wanted to hear more. And for everyone who's listening today, please check it out. We leave the link in the description, and hopefully we get it out in time. So it still makes sense, if not for the next one.
Yes, of course,
Sunny,
of course.
Before I let you go, I would love to just do a closing bit about the ChatGPT story, because, it is too exciting to ignore, and I'd love to hear what you think about it. I think ChatGPT, you played around with it, I'm sure, just a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been in there a lot. No, it's fantastic. I mean, I plugged things like social captions in. I mean, I've done I've written a blog post with it. I mean, I've tried all sorts of stuff, to just try to see its power. I mean, it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. I think there's a flip side to it, right? Where, you're probably going to see lots of the same content. But at the same time, like one thing that I personally, and probably maybe all creatives struggle with this, but it's like trying to write your own website or something. It's like, I'd rather just like, take a black eye or something. Like it's like, what? Like do a project for free, go skiing down a mountain with no skis. I don't know. But it's true. I mean, it's so challenging when you're trying to do it for yourself. So it's nice because it gives you like little seed ideas that you can kind of build upon. I think it's very powerful. I think it's very game changing. And I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I wanted to, I'm going to drive some free advertising now for a platform, but have you heard of Tome, Tome?
No. What is it?
So Tome is one of the millions of, ChatGPT based APIs, and it's basically the PowerPoint version of it. And I was a little bit skeptical, and then I checked it out, and oh my God, it has saved me hours in a day.
Wow.
So just to give you an idea, and to everyone else who's listening, is that we create a brand strategy document. We create kind of the fundamentals, the foundation of a company. We have 2, 3, 4 pages, let's say max, of this company that we build together with our client. And everything in there, archetypes, personas, positioning statement, blah, 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 blah. And then we came up with internal employee value proposition, kind of statement or slogan that's only used internally. And what I did is that I told that program that this is the new tagline for the internal EVP, and fed the whole document into it and said can you structure me this presentation into an approach where every single person in the company would be able to have an easy time adapting this philosophy or the concept or whatever you like to call it. And, we're not talking about copy paste here. There's nothing there that I copied straight out of it, but it was just we worked on it for 2 months of it. We sometimes get stuck. Everyone gets stuck. And it's just structuring it in this format was just wow, that was insane.
How long did it take for it to do it?
5 seconds. Yeah.
Wow.
So the crazy thing as well was that the images is very basic layout, right? Text, image, side to side, and you can change it, of course. Is that the image directly gets converted from DALL-E because it gets the prompt right into DALL-E as well. So you get the image and text, and the images were insane as well.
It's called Tome, Tome? Tome?
Tome, yeah.
So you put the whole work that you had done internally with you and your partner, you kind of put that work, you fed it all that work. Did you upload a document and you say, can you spit this back out to me in a way that the whole company could understand?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean, they updated it yesterday. I don't think you can upload documents yet. As of now, but I just copy pasted basically the entire thing with all the important pieces in it. Said this is the brand strategy document.
So crazy.
Kind of parentheses. Definitely crazy.
I got to see that. You got to send that to me. I'm curious. That's really cool. Or we'll do a screenshot. Yeah, that's neat.
I'll send you an invite link so you get some more free credits to play around with as well. And
thank you.
The last thing I wanted to share with you is, I think that one you probably know, Futurepedia. That one you know? No, Futurepedia is basically the Google of AI APIs that all based on ChatGPT. So you can basically put in presentation or app creation, or I don't know, I haven't checked logo. I hope it's not there yet, but let's see. And then basically it tells you who developed what for which purposes, that are all basically based on ChatGPT. So definitely check that out. Going to be an interesting rabbit hole to kind of sink in for a couple of months.
See you in June. I feel like you've just given me 2 things I'm going to go down the rabbit hole on.
Yeah, I hope you have a lot of time.
I know, right? No, I have no free time, but I'll see what I can do. I'll report back and let you know.
A constant squeeze in, yeah. Sunny, I had so much fun with you today. Thank you so much.
Me too.
I hope we're going to do this again. Maybe next time we're all going to be robots and our logos and faces are all designed by Tome and AI. I hope not, but very excited to see what the future brings for both of us. Best of luck with all your vision camps and everything else. And
Appreciate
thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I had a really good time.